Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going deep. Yeah, taking a deep dive into the world of suspicious activity reports, SARs, how they're used to fight financial crime right here in the UK. Our guide for this journey
Oh, exciting.
is the SARs Reporter Booklet, January 2025, a collection of real-world case studies.
Wow.
Great from law enforcement. Not every day.
You don't get to see that every day.
You get a peek behind the curtain like this.
It really is fascinating, a fascinating glimpse into how financial intelligence is used to tackle some serious criminal activity.
Right. It's like getting to read the detective's notes. And speaking of detectives, this booklet kicks off with a foreword by Vince O'Brien, the head of the UKFIU. That's the UK's Financial Intelligence Unit, for those who haven't encountered it before.
The UKFIU is the central hub for everything SARS. They're the ones who receive and analyze these reports, connect the dots, and share intelligence with law enforcement agencies all over the country.
And get this, they even have their own podcast. O'Brien mentions it in the foreword. It sounds like a great way to stay up to date on all things financial crime.
It is. It is a great resource. They often have interviews with experts from different fields, which gives you a really well-rounded perspective on the latest trends and challenges.
I'm definitely adding that to my list, but for now, let's get into these case studies. It's one thing to talk about SARs in theory, but seeing them in action in these real-life situations is where it gets really interesting.
Absolutely. And what's striking is the sheer variety of cases. We're not just talking about stereotypical drug cartels laundering millions. It's everything from small-scale fraud to complex international schemes.
Let's start with a case that hits close to home for many of us, money laundering. This first one involves a business customer who is trying to clean dirty money using cash deposits and fake invoices.
The reporter, likely the bank handling the business's accounts, started noticing some major red flags. Large cash deposits, unusual for the type of business it was, and invoices that just didn't seem legitimate. Plus, their stated income was way beyond what you'd expect.
So they filed a SAR. What happened next? Did the authorities just swoop in?
It triggered a swift response. The UKFIU fast-tracked the SAR to law enforcement, who uncovered over £1 million in cash deposits and a stack of bogus invoices. Clearly, this business was up to no good.
That's a lot of dirty money. What was the outcome? Were they able to recover any of it?
Over £90,000 was frozen and eventually forfeited. That's money that can now be used for legitimate purposes instead of funding criminal enterprises.
That's what I'd like to hear. Okay. This next case really highlights how criminals are exploiting vulnerable people. We're talking about an international student who got caught up in a money muling scheme.
Sadly, this is all too common. Criminals often target students, enticing them with easy money to move funds through their accounts. In this case, the student had large cash deposits coming in from various sources and then was quickly transferring those funds out. It's a classic money mule pattern.
So how did this get on the radar of the authorities? Did the student realize they were involved in something illegal?
Thankfully, a vigilant reporter picked up on the suspicious activity and filed a SAR. The UKFIU, recognizing the urgency, immediately flagged it for law enforcement.
Were they able to stop the money before it disappeared?
Yes, they managed to freeze over £10,000 before it could vanish into the criminal underworld. This brings us to another student, also caught in the web of money muling. But this time, things get even more interesting.
What happened here?
In this case, the reporter, again likely a bank, was already suspicious of money muling and was in the process of ending their relationship with the student. They filed what's called a DAML SAR, Defense Against Money Laundering.
DAML SAR, what's that all about?
Essentially, it's a request for legal protection if they return funds. To a customer suspected of money laundering, they wanted to close the account and give the money back, but needed a safety net if it turned out to be dirty.
That makes sense. It sounds like they were trying to do the right thing, but they also needed to protect themselves. So did the UKFIU approve their request?
So they actually refused it.
Refused? Why would they do that if the bank was trying to cut ties with a potentially criminal customer?
Because they recognized the potential severity of the crime. By refusing the DAML request, they allowed law enforcement to step in and conduct a full investigation. Wow, so even though the bank was trying to do the right thing, the UKFIU saw a bigger picture and took action.
What happened next?
Law enforcement was able to obtain an account freezing order. You might hear this, referred to as an AFO. It essentially locks down the funds in the account so the suspect can't access them. While the investigation is underway, they were able to restrain over £12,000 in the student's account.
So the SAR was still crucial in stopping the flow of potentially illicit funds, It's a good reminder that even when things seem complicated, reporting suspicious activity can make a real difference.
Exactly. It's all about working together. The reporters are the eyes and ears, and the UKFIU acts as the central nervous system coordinating the response and making sure law enforcement has the information they need to act.
This next case also involves a suspected money mule, but with a slightly different outcome.
Yes. In this instance, the reporter filed a damn SAR, wanting to end their relationship with the customer and return the funds. But the UKFIU, again recognizing the need for a deeper investigation, took a different approach.
So they didn't grant the DAML request outright?
No, they fast-tracked the report to law enforcement, who then applied for an account freezing order. The order was granted, and over £14,000 was frozen, preventing those funds from potentially disappearing.
It's amazing how these SARs can stop criminal activity in its tracks. It really seems like filing a SAR can make a real difference. No matter the specifics of the situation, you're helping to build a case, even if you don't know all the details.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. Each report is a piece of the puzzle. It might seem like a small thing, but it all adds up to a bigger picture.
Speaking of puzzles, let's take a look at a case that might surprise you. It involves illegal lotteries, which might not sound as serious as money laundering, but they can be a significant source of criminal financing.
That's right. In this case, the reporter noticed a pattern of small transactions coming to a customer's account from various individuals, with some of that money being recirculated among the same group.
So it wasn't just a group of friends pooling money for a lottery ticket. It sounds like a deliberate attempt to create a complex web of transactions.
Exactly. The reporter saw right through it, and the total amount of money flowing through this account was staggering, over $1.5 million in just a few years.
That's a far cry from your office lottery pool. So what did the SAR uncover?
It helped law enforcement identify even more accounts linked to the suspect and reveal they were running illegal lotteries on social media.
Social media. That's a whole new level of illegal lottery operations.
It shows how technology is both a tool for good and for criminal activity. It allows people to connect and share, but it also provides new avenues for criminal enterprises to reach a wider audience.
So what was the outcome of this case? Were they able to shut down this online lottery ring?
The suspect was issued a caution, a formal warning. That will hopefully deter them from future illegal activities. While there weren't any funds to confiscate, in this specific instance, the investigation disrupted the operation and sent a clear message that this type of activity won't be tolerated.
From illegal lotteries to identity theft, this next case shows how criminals exploit stolen information to commit financial crimes. We're talking about a fraudulent company account, opened using a stolen identity.
It's a reminder that we need to be vigilant about protecting our personal information in this case. The reporter noticed several red flags with a newly opened company account, lack of everyday spending, rapid movement of funds, and frequent cash transactions.
Those are all telltale signs that something isn't right. It seems like they were trying to move the money quickly and avoid leaving a paper trail.
Exactly, and thankfully the reporter's instincts were spot on. They filed a damn SAR to return the account balance while severing ties with the customer.
So they were being cautious, but still trying to return the funds. Did the UKFIU approve?
They took a closer look and uncovered a report from someone who had discovered a bank account and company had been set up in their name without their consent.
That's terrifying. It's a reminder that this can happen to anyone, thankfully. The SAR played a crucial role in identifying the victim and starting the process of recovering the stolen funds.
Absolutely. An account freezing order was put in place, and over £30,000 was successfully restrained.
It's amazing how these SARs can connect the dots and bring justice to victims. It makes you realize that even if you're not directly involved in a crime, your actions can have a ripple effect.
That's right. You never know how your vigilance might help someone else. Now, this next case is a prime example of how criminals use UK accounts to launder proceeds from international fraud. It involves invoice diversion fraud, a sophisticated scheme that targets businesses.
Invoice diversion fraud. That sounds complicated. How does that work?
Criminals deceive businesses into sending payments to the wrong account, in this case a large payment, from a newly incorporated overseas company, landed in a UK account, raising suspicions.
So a brand new company is sending a large sum of money. That's a red flag right there. What else made the reporter suspicious?
The payment was outside the normal activity for that customer. They tried to explain it with an invoice, but it just didn't add up. The reporter wisely filed a SAR, and the UKFIU wasted no time in getting law enforcement involved.
What did the investigation reveal?
The funds were linked to invoice diversion fraud. The UK account was set up using a name very similar to a legitimate company overseas. It was a clever attempt to deceive, but thankfully not clever enough.
So they were trying to blend in, make it look like a normal transaction. What happened to the stolen funds?
Law enforcement identified another fraudulent payment and obtained account freezing orders. On over £200,000, those funds were then forfeited. A significant win for the good guys.
It's incredible how one SAR can unravel such a complex web of international fraud. These cases highlight the power of collaboration and information sharing.
Indeed, it takes a collective effort to combat these sophisticated schemes. Now let's shift gears and delve into the world of fraud. This next case might seem a bit unusual. It involves a benefit recipient who surprisingly had millions of pounds in their accounts.
Wait, a benefit recipient with millions? That doesn't sound right at all.
That's what the reporter thought. They were in the process of ending their relationship with a customer who was receiving benefits and had no record of employment when they discovered a series of unexplained deposits from external sources.
That's a major red flag. What did the SAR uncover?
The UKFIU fast-tracked it, and law enforcement soon discovered multiple linked accounts with a combined balance of several million pounds.
Several million. You're kidding, right?
No kidding. And to make things even more suspicious, the funds were all deposited. In a very short period, it was clear that something wasn't right.
That's not your average benefits payout. How on earth did they manage to get their hands on that kind of money?
Investigations revealed the funds originated overseas, and it quickly became apparent that investment fraud was involved. It seems the customer was caught in a web of deceit, potentially acting as a middleman for a much larger criminal operation.
It's a reminder that fraud can take many forms and that anyone can become a victim. So what happened? Were they able to recover any of the money?
They were able to freeze over £50,000 from the initial Damel SAR.
Okay, that's a start. But what about the rest of the millions?
Law enforcement arrested the customer and an associate and seized luxury goods and assets from linked addresses. Over £1 million in additional funds is currently frozen as the investigation continues.
It's amazing how one SAR can unravel a massive fraud scheme like this. It shows that no matter how elaborate the scheme, there's always a trail.
Exactly. It's a game of cat and mouse. And thankfully, in this case, the good guys are winning.
Okay, one last case for this deep dive. This one focuses on a customer whose financial activity didn't match their declared income, a classic sign of something amiss.
It's a reminder that inconsistencies in financial profiles can be a clear indication of criminal activity. The reporter noticed several red flags in this case. Significant spikes in the customer's monthly credit turnover, multiple large cash deposits, often on the same day, and a suspiciously high number of businesses registered at the customer's address.
So basically, they were trying to fly under the radar while moving a lot of money around. What happened when the SAR was filed?
The UKFIU, recognizing the seriousness of the potential crime, refused consent for the Damel. This paved the way for law enforcement to conduct a thorough investigation.
Smart move. What did they uncover?
When questioned, the customer couldn't provide a legitimate source for the funds. An account freezing order was obtained, and eventually, over £40,000 was forfeited.
Another victory for SARs. It's incredible to see how these reports are used to tackle such a wide range of financial crimes, from money laundering to fraud.
It's a testament to the power of vigilance and collaboration. By working together, individuals, businesses, and law enforcement agencies are creating a formidable force against financial crime.
It really is remarkable how these SARs, which might seem like just paperwork, can actually lead to real-world consequences for criminals.
They're far from just paperwork. They're a vital tool for disrupting criminal activity and recovering stolen funds. It's fascinating to see how those initial suspicions, those red flags that a reporter notices, can set off a chain reaction that ultimately leads to justice.
Thinking back on all these cases, it seems like one of the most common threads is money muling, especially with students being targeted. It's unsettling to think about how vulnerable people are being drawn into these schemes, often without fully realizing the consequences.
You're right, it is a worrying trend. Criminals often prey on those who might be struggling financially or are simply unaware of how these schemes work. They might be lured in with promises of easy money, not realizing they're becoming part of a larger criminal network.
It highlights the importance of education and awareness, doesn't it? We need to make sure people understand the risks and how to protect themselves. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to financial crime. The more we understand about the tactics used by criminals, the better equipped we are to spot them and avoid becoming victims.
And if you do encounter something suspicious, no matter how small it might seem, don't hesitate to report it. You might be the missing piece of the puzzle. That helps bring down a criminal operation.
Exactly. It's better to err on the side of caution. Your report could be the key to protecting someone else from becoming a victim.
This booklet has really opened my eyes to the world of financial crime and how SARs are making a tangible difference in the fight. It's inspiring to see how individual actions can have a ripple effect, contributing to a safer financial system for everyone.
It's a collective effort. By working together and sharing information, we can create a hostile environment for criminals and protect the integrity of our financial systems.
Speaking of sharing information, remember that UKFIU podcast we mentioned earlier? I'm definitely going to check it out. It sounds like a great way to stay informed about the latest trends and challenges in financial crime.
It's a fantastic resource. They cover a wide range of topics and often have interviews with experts from various sectors, which provides a really valuable perspective. I highly recommend it.
And for those who want to learn more about SARs and how to report suspicious activity, the UKFIU website is a great place to start. They have detailed guides, helpful resources, and even an online reporting form.
It's a wealth of information, easily accessible to anyone who wants to learn more. They've made it very user-friendly.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway from all these case studies?
For me, it's the reminder that financial crime isn't just something that happens in movies or to other people. It's a real threat that affects individuals, businesses, and communities worldwide. But it's not an insurmountable problem. By being vigilant, informed, and proactive, we can all play a part in combating it.
I couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. What steps can you take to be more financially aware and protect yourself from becoming a victim of financial crime?
Remember, knowledge is your best defense. Stay informed, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you see something, say something. Your vigilance could make all the difference.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of suspicious activity reports. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe.